Welcome to your Cooperative's 85th Annual Meeting. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Board Chair Linda Lydola. We have a quorum of members attending this online meeting. Therefore, I call the Cooperative's 2021 Annual Meeting to order. The annual report and agenda for today's meeting are available on our website. The agenda includes last year's annual meeting minutes. A recording of this meeting will also be available on our website at a later date. We are prepared to read the official notice of the meeting and the certificate of mailing. The notice of the meeting was previously mailed to each member in accordance with the Cooperative's bylaws. We will now hear the executive report.
Hello, I'm President and CEO Justin Johns. Thank you for taking the time to attend virtually your Cooperative's annual meeting. This is my first annual meeting as President and CEO, and I want to take a moment to thank you for the opportunity to serve you. This past year, Americans have been through tremendous hardship. Today, we'll be sharing how East Central Energy powered through the pandemic in 2020. But first, I want to offer my condolences to those who have lost loved ones to COVID-19. Grief is always a complicated process, and social distancing has made it difficult to honor and remember the family, friends, neighbors, and loved ones who have died during the pandemic. Our thoughts and prayers are with you. As we share last year's highlights, please feel free to ask questions. A chat function is available for technical issues, and a question and answer is available for questions that you'd like us to answer. All questions will be answered at the end of the meeting. Also, at the end of the meeting, we will be sharing the results of the director election, so please stick around. I'd like to introduce the ECE Board of Directors. In District 1, we have Diane Zimmerman and Greg Kivznicka. District 2, David Deutschlander and Lonnie Johnson. District 3, Wayne Eller and Rick Olson. District 4, Gary Bai and Joe Morley. District 5, Jerry Tveet and Linda Lydola. District 6, Wes Seamers and Jim Jessic. Each year, we present the Touchstone Energy Community Award to a local organization that has improved the quality of life in our community. ECE's winner is the Tusentak organization from Bram, Minnesota. Tusentak currently administers 4 entities, including a thrift store, food shelf, the Bram Event Center, which is home to their commercial kitchen, Kathy's Kitchen, and the Alice Stute Library. As our local winner, Tusentak received a $1,000 prize and was entered into the statewide competition. And for the first time, ECE's local winner won the Minnesota Touchstone Energy Community Award. Tusentak received an additional $1,000 prize as well as a beautiful glass award. For everything these dedicated volunteers do for our community, thank you and congratulations. As we all know, 2020 began as any other year and quickly devolved into chaos. In January, Chinese authorities announced that an outbreak of atypical pneumonia cases appeared to be caused by a novel coronavirus. By mid-March, schools were closed and many of our business decisions began to relate directly to the pandemic. We closed our lobbies, asked employees to work from home, and our internal emergency preparedness committee met regularly to discuss COVID-19 safety protocols. As the year unfolded, we canceled Arbor Day, Project Green Touch, the youth tour, and member appreciation events. However, we're not here today to talk about what we didn't get to do. We're here to share how we powered through the pandemic, how our members stayed resilient, and how our employees kept the electricity flowing despite it all. We hold this meeting every year to keep you informed about your cooperative, to hear from you directly, and to answer your questions. This year, you'll be hearing directly from the VPs of our 3 divisions. Though they are all new in their positions, Andy, Ty, and Lisa have been at the cooperative for years and are prepared to report on the activities of their departments. I'll turn it over to Andy Olson, VP and COO for this next section.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Andy Olson, and I'm the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer here at ECE. I've been at the co-op for 14 years, most recently as Forestry Supervisor, and have enjoyed developing an understanding of our system. Today I'll be covering the 2020 activities of operations, engineering, and system control. When the pandemic hit, our team made some modifications. As essential workers, we still had to restore and maintain power. Field employees were required to drive one person per truck and social distance, and office employees were asked to work from home if possible. We powered through the year by prioritizing reliability and safety. In 2020, we tested nearly 11,000 poles and kept corridors clear by managing problem vegetation on over 1,200 miles of line. Despite our best efforts to provide consistent power, sometimes Mother Nature has her own plans. In March, strong winds and heavy snow left over 7,000 members without power, mainly in Mille Lacs, Morrison, and Benton counties. More than 100 poles needed to be replaced. The incident was later declared a state emergency FEMA event. We were grateful for the help of neighboring co-ops and contractors for their help with restoration, which took about 2 full days. We work hard to employ safe, effective vegetation management practices. The co-op was designated as a Tree Line USA utility. In March, we partnered with the Arbor Day Foundation to offer ECE members the opportunity to use an interactive online mapping tool to select a free tree and a suitable planting location that will maximize energy-saving benefits over the tree's lifespan. We were glad to see so many members take advantage of the Energy Saving Trees program, and 400 saplings were ultimately sent out. In 2020, we hit the milestone of serving over 62,000 members. Our service coordinators closed nearly 8,000 service orders throughout the year, and we constructed 50 miles of line. To help with animal-related outages, we installed animal guards on 1,400 transformers. Pollinators continued to be a focus in a multitude of ways. Last summer, we resumed work on our pollinator gardens in Bram, Minnesota, and Superior, Wisconsin. To celebrate Pollinator Week in June, we created 3 educational videos and shared them on Facebook. In exciting news, ECE became the first electric co-op and the first applicant from the energy sector to receive a certificate of inclusion into the Monarch Butterfly Candidate Conservation Agreement with assurances. We're proud to be creating and enhancing monarch habitat across our service area. Overall, we pushed through the challenges of the pandemic to continue providing safe, reliable electric service. We made progress on our infrastructure and pollinator habitat projects and did our absolute best to keep the lights on. Now you'll hear from Ty, our VP and CIO.
Hi, I'm Ty Hoagland, Vice President and Chief Information Officer at East Central Energy. Before accepting this newly created position at ECE, I served as IT Manager and have been with the cooperative for 16 years. Today I'll be sharing what 2020 looked like for government and business relations, facilities, IT, and energy services and metering systems. Our business account specialists worked hard all year to find ways to better support our commercial members. In fact, we paid out $108,000 in rebates to local businesses in 2020. In May, the City of North Branch was awarded $20,000 through the ECE Emergency Loan Fund to set up a new loan program for local businesses in need during the pandemic. Within a few hours, the city issued a loan to an area business. The City of Malacca also participated in the emergency loan program. With fewer employees working in our offices, Facilities was able to complete necessary building projects. Some of these included new asphalt in our Waukon and Malacca offices, completing HVAC upgrades and roof replacement in Bram, and replacing garage doors in Superior. Our facilities team does a great job of taking care of the co-op's buildings and grounds, and 2020 was no different. In March, the IT department introduced a new email filtering platform and an internal networking appliance to keep up with the growing security threats we are seeing in our industry. With more employees working from home, it became increasingly important to protect against cyber threats. The team also worked to find an automated solution so that in June, employees could stop taking credit card payments over the phone to increase security. We're always looking for ways to protect member information. The metering team had a busy year as well. In December, we finished a big project to optimize the network that manages the 80,000 meters we have in the field. We also changed meter configurations over the air to reduce traffic on the network and improve performance. Our employees want to ensure the best connectivity for members and their meters, and both of these projects will make a sizable difference in how meters communicate. The energy services team always has great rebates available for energy management. In 2020, the co-op paid out over $665,000 in these rebates. including over $55,000 for steel electric lawn care equipment. In October, we worked with Lakes and Pines Community Action Council to provide an energy efficiency kit to every household in the Pine Terrace Mobile Home Park in Pine City. It was another way for ECE to support families during the pandemic. As you've seen today, our team helped members power through the pandemic by supporting local businesses, making necessary repairs, increasing security, improving our metering system, and helping you save money and energy along the way. Next up is Lisa, VP and CFO.
Hi, I'm Lisa Procker, and I'm the Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at ECE Energy. I've been here for 28 years and came on board during the merger with North Pine Electric. I'm excited to discuss the 2020 activities of finance and assets, member services, and human resources. I'll also cover the financial condition of the cooperative. Due to worsening conditions with COVID-19, we suspended lobby access at all locations last March. We halted collections activities during the height of the pandemic, and the co-op was able to donate $72,000 to food programs across our service territory because several in-person events were canceled. Social distancing led us to find new ways to connect with members. For example, to support small businesses, we asked members on Facebook to nominate a local company that deserved an ECE Power Boost. We received nearly 100 nominations during the month, and 3 businesses were randomly selected. In addition to donuts, we purchased $50 gift certificates from each winning business as a giveaway for our followers. We provided $92,000 in scholarships to students continuing their education. And once again, we were able to match a grant offered by one of our financial institutions we work with, CoBank, and ultimately provided $20,000 in school supplies as part of our Teacher Totes project. ECE's total revenue for 2020 was more than $127 million. Residential sales, including seasonal sales, accounted for over 67% of our revenue, while commercial and industrial sales contributed almost 30%. Capital credits and other revenue accounted for 3%. Purchased power, the majority of which we buy from Great River Energy, accounted for over 60% of ECE's uses of revenue. Interest, taxes, and depreciation contributed 14%. The expenses we can control represent almost 21%. They include customer accounts and service, administrative services, and distribution. Margins accounted for 5% and are necessary to meet our loan obligations. However, business modifications due to the pandemic, plus a shift in member kilowatt-hour purchases, created a year-end excess of margins. We used these margins to credit 2 months of cost of basic service on member bills that were due in January 2021. In October, the board approved a $40 million 35-year loan to improve the infrastructure of our distribution system, including replacement of load management receivers and 2,500 poles, completing almost 100 miles of distribution line improvements, and replacing 21 miles of conductor. As a member of this cooperative, you will help provide capital that allows us to deliver electricity to you, and we use it prudently. When there is a margin over the cost to operate, all patronage revenue is allocated to you in the form of capital credits. They are paid out to you over time if the financial condition of the co-op allows. In 2020, we were able to pay out capital credits early to support our members during the pandemic. The board approved an early payout, and $4.4 million was returned to members. An additional $1 million in estate retirements was also paid out. Over the years, more than $91 million has been returned to our members. We own just over 44% of Northland Connect Broadband, a high-speed satellite internet provider, and we're 50% owner of Malacca Localink, providing long-distance cable TV and internet service. Together, they provide dividends of $111,000 last year. In October, we updated the layout of our bill. We hope you've found the bright colors and simple design easier to navigate and understand. Speaking of your bill, thank you to those who round up your bill to the nearest dollar. In 2020, you helped provide over $80,000 in opportunities to local nonprofit organizations through Operation Roundup. As you've seen today, our group helped members power through the pandemic by adapting to change, connecting with and supporting you as much as possible, and making smart financial decisions. We're your neighbors, and every employee is here for you. We value your trust. Now, to Justin for the next portion of our meeting.
This is the point in the program where we're going to take questions from members, and I would urge you, if you have a question, to please submit it at this time. Do we have any questions so far?
Good morning. Please enter your questions in the Q&A section, and we do have a question this morning, Justin. It's from Kim Johnson. Kim asks, I'd like to hear more from ECE about the issues of climate change, not just ECE's response to the cause of climate change and the shift away from fossil fuels to renewables, but also ECE's plan to deal with the effects of climate change. As we saw in Texas last winter, catastrophic energy interruptions can result when utilities aren't prepared for severe weather events that seem to be increasing in number and intensity. What is ECE doing to prepare for these kinds of threats to uninterrupted power at reasonable prices in a way that doesn't jeopardize our capital credits? I'd also like to see the ECE website incorporate a climate change tab to summarize how the organization addresses both the causes and the effects of the issue.
Well, great question, Kim. Very appropriate and also very timely, given, as you mentioned, the events in Texas. East Central Energy is a member of Great River Energy. They are our G&T. They provide the electricity that we sell to our members. And they have been moving towards a more renewable power portfolio. Again, the cause of climate change is believed by many to be carbon. And so GRE is rapidly moving towards a carbon reduced portfolio mix through their ownership as well as their power purchase agreements. East Central Energy is committed to environmental sustainability. There are many things that we're doing to increase the sustainability of our right-of-way maintenance. For example, we have 2 pollinator projects that we're continuing to work on and learn more about less invasive maintenance opportunities for our right-of-way maintenance. But your question is more about how are we preparing our system for the volatile weather that could be associated with climate change. And there are many things that are happening, and we've been doing many of those things for 85 years. I mentioned right-of-way maintenance. Clearing trees is an important aspect of how we maintain good reliability on our system, and we spend a lot of time and energy keeping those right-of-ways clear to prevent trees from falling on our lines during storms. We also do significant amounts of pole testing. The viability and strength of the poles obviously deteriorates over time, and so we spend time testing those poles to make sure that they're going to withstand storms that come. We do line patrol to survey potential risk areas within our service territory that would then result in maybe vegetation management or line rebuilds. Probably one of the significant investments that we make, though, is in our work plan. And our work plan is our plan to keep our system strong. We upgrade poles, we upgrade lines, we redesign our system to maintain its reliability and make sure that it's able to withstand weather as weather comes. We also have an AMI system, and this is more of a responsive spend for us, but we have advanced metering infrastructure, is what AMI stands for, and that system allows us to be aware of outages in a more rapid fashion. It gives us data. And you'll see this organization over time to develop into more of a data-driven organization. We're using information to make decisions to increase and maintain the reliability that we offer our members. And so those are some of the things that we're doing to mitigate the effects of climate change. And I think, the things that happened in Texas, there's a multitude of reasons why those things happened. And I think that we could go into some of those details. For example, their generation facilities are not built to withstand the weather that Minnesota systems are designed for. So when we get 20 below weather here, it's not something new for us. But when Texas sees sustained temperatures around 0 degrees, their systems just simply aren't designed for that. Another thing I would add is there's not a lot of folks with delivered fuel heating systems in that area, meaning natural gas and propane. And so a lot of those folks are using electric heat, which then increase the demand on the system in Texas as well. And the fact that the Texas electric grid is really isolated from the rest of the country lent itself towards increased issues with power supply during that time. The MISO market, Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, is a very large network of generation and transmission utilities stretching from Manitoba, Canada, all the way down to Louisiana. And so there's a lot of interconnectedness involved in there. And so when one generation asset is down, there's power available from other resources. And so I think just by design, the reliability of the MISO market is enhanced relative to things in Texas. And finally, I would add that Great River Energy, again, our generation and transmission relationship is with them, and they they have to file what's called an Integrated Resource Plan, or an IRP, every year with the Public Utilities Commission. And that IRP requires them to show that they have the facilities and the relationships and potentially contracts to supply the power to the 28 distribution cooperatives that they serve. And so those things combined give me a high degree of confidence in our ability to continue to provide reliable and safe electricity to our members, even as the climate may be changing and the impacts on the weather are significant. So we appreciate the question. And you also asked a little bit about our website. And I think that's something we're going to take under advisement. I think our efforts in environmental sustainability are significant. We're a leader in many areas, and I think it would be good for us to share with our members through our website the ways that we're doing that. So thank you again, Kim, for the great question. Are there any other questions?
Yes, our next question is from Nick Schneider. He asks, what kind of renewable sources is ECE exploring or purchasing from?
Sure. Well, that's a great question as well. We have a renewable solar array down in Cambridge. It's a 2 megawatt system, a single axis tracker. And what's unique about that is that those solar panels are facing east in the morning, which is traditionally where the sun comes up. And then during the day, they track with the sun. So by the end of the day, they're facing west. And that maximizes the productivity of those solar panels. And so that's a direct relationship that we have with a solar provider. We have many members who have solar on their homes and businesses. And then Great River Energy, again, our G&T, has about 470 megawatts of wind contracts available now. And so those contracts are pretty significant. But as you may have heard, Great River Energy is in the process of working on a deal to sell Coal Creek Station in Underwood, North Dakota. And the sale of that plant, that's an 1,100 megawatt coal-fired plant, would result in the need for GRE to procure more generation. And that generation will be in the form of wind contracts, largely. They're looking at adding about 900 megawatts of wind to their portfolio over the next few years. And that will provide a large amount of the energy requirements needed to serve the 28 distribution cooperatives that they serve. But they'll still need to add some capacity. And there's a few different ways that they're looking at doing that with their existing peaking plants. And they are also looking at procuring that directly on the market. So that would be a contractual obligation to supplant that coal-fired energy. And so I would really say that GRE is leading the way. And I think when you think about all of those renewable assets, I think there's a tendency from some folks to think, well, is that going to be reliable? Is it going to be there when the weather turns? And again, I would point back to the MISO market, the very good job that they do of ensuring reliability within the footprint of the market, as well as GRE's commitment to their integrated resource planning and the procurement of the capacity required, whatever the weather may be. So great question. Are there any other questions?
Yep, we have another one. Nick Schneider also asked, what kind of review or committee has ECE created to evaluate ECE policies, distribution, and work culture to improve inclusivity for our BIPOC, and I apologize if I mispronounce that, friends and neighbors? Is ECE collaborating with any Indigenous groups to build and modify traditional Native housing structures and meet their energy needs?
Great. And this is from Nick again?
This is from Nick, yes.
Okay, great. Great question. Diversity and inclusion is actually a big subject at NRECA, which is the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. There's been a significant focus on increasing diversity in the workplace and making sure that we are accurately representing all the members that we serve. And so it's a very timely question as well. We do have a policy committee that reviews our normal policies, and we are obviously an equal opportunity provider and employer, and we hold dear to those values. We have a project that we're working on with one of the bands that involves access to what I would call environmentally sustainable energy. And I can't talk too much about the details of that because it's still in process, but I just want to assure you that we are committed to working with all of our members to make sure that their energy goals are met and that our workplace is an inclusive and diverse workplace. So thank you again for that question.
Justin, we do have another question, and it's from Garnet Polson, and he asks, with increased wind 63%, which is inconsistent and unreliable, will the natural gas peaking plants keep up, or will we experience rolling blackouts? And with wind production, will my bill double or triple?
Yeah, and what was the first name on that one?
Garnet.
Garnet.
Yep.
Yep, that's a great question, Garnet, and I definitely appreciate it. I think what happened in Texas and what happened in the polar vortex was a great opportunity for everyone to pause and think about the exact question that you just asked, especially in terms of reliability. Now, on the price side, I'll talk about that first. The wind contracts that GRE is working on are much more affordable from a cost perspective than operating Coal Creek Station, and that's the reason why GRE has been looking at closing Coal Creek Station or selling it. And so that process is ongoing, and these wind contracts will be more affordable. Now, you bring up the mention of reliability and rolling blackouts in Texas. As I mentioned, there's a lot of generation asset diversity within the state of Minnesota and within the MISO market in general. GRE owns and maintains many peaking plants of various sizes throughout their service territory. We have two, one at Rock Lake, just south of Pine City, and another one just north of Cambridge. The one in Cambridge, I believe, is 170 megawatts, and the one in Rock Creek, or just south of Pine City, I should say, is 20 megawatts. And so those two plants are representative of the power plants that GRE has throughout their footprint to provide peaking power. Now, generally, those plants have only run on the really hot days in the summer and the really cold days in the winter. But GRE is looking at improving the production of those plants, basically beefing them up a little bit to provide more capacity throughout the year, really, but particularly in the summer and in the winter. And so you'll probably see those plants running more, which is good because you're going to be able to utilize that asset a bit more. And you're going to see GRE potentially building another power plant, another natural gas-fired power plant within the state of Minnesota. And as I mentioned earlier, they are going to be adding 200 megawatts. Their goal is to add 200 megawatts of what's called capacity, meaning power that's available firm. So probably a natural gas-driven plant of some type, but it'll be a contract-based agreement to replace the capacity that was available from Coal Creek Station. And I really believe that this whole process of the exit from Coal Creek Station is going to be a positive for us as members from a financial perspective with little to no impact on reliability. GRE will be exposed to the market, the MISO market, a bit more, but the operation of Coal Creek Station at the cost that it was running at was not sustainable from a financial perspective. And so the exit is a good move, and GRE continues to evaluate the situation, and we continue to monitor them and their decisions. We have two of our directors that serve on the board at Great River Energy that help make wise and prudent decisions on behalf of the 62,000 members that we serve. So great question. Thank you.
We have another question from Nick Schneider. Nick asks, are the GRE wind contracts also located in North Dakota? Will North Dakota electric co-ops also benefit from these wind turbines? Are the turbines in the contract newly built or existing infrastructure?
Great question. A little bit of both in terms of new versus old. There are some existing plants that GRE is buying a stake in, and there are some that are going to be under construction. My understanding is, and this is all fluid, so none of it's nailed down yet, but none of the new wind contracts will be located in North Dakota. Most of them will be located in Minnesota, with the potential for some to be in Iowa. That's the understanding as of today. This entire process is still, as I said, fluid and under development, but for a few reasons, North Dakota became less desirable for wind contracts, largely because of the political atmosphere related to the potential closure of Coal Creek Station. And so there were some things enacted by some counties, and GRE made the decision to look elsewhere for good sites for wind contracts.
At this time, if you do have a question, please enter it into the Q&A section. We have one last question, Justin.
Okay.
$72,000 is a large sum of money. Which food shelves received the donation and how were they chosen? And this comes from Jennifer Lashinsky.
Wonderful question, Jennifer. $72,000 was donated to the food shelves throughout our service territory. We have 6 director districts. They're geographically spread throughout our service territory, and there are 2 directors in each of those districts. And so what happened is essentially at the end of the year, there were some funds that we didn't spend, a lot of training budget. And we are a big believer in employee development and training. And so we normally would spend that money sending folks to conferences or doing different things. But because of COVID and the quarantine requirements, we kept our employees safe and we didn't attend a lot of training. Now, we fully expect that once COVID is over, to the extent that those trainings are available in person, we will be sending our employees because we are facing a very important transitional time in our industry. And the education and development of our employees will always be important to us. However, in 2020, we had this extra money from not having to spend it on training. And so we worked with our directors, and they worked together to identify good locations to provide these donations to. And so they are geographically located throughout the service territory. And if you go to our website, I believe you can see a list of all of the organizations and groups that received a portion of that funding. So great question, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. At this time, there are no other questions being sent into the Q&A. So I will turn the meeting back over to Justin.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for all the questions. I really enjoy member engagement, the opportunity to have a conversation and explain our very exciting industry. There's a lot of changes happening. We have a lot of changes happening here internally. We had a large transition of our executive team, and I'm very proud of the folks that we have in place today. And I think we're well equipped to take on the challenges of the future. And I want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve you in my role. And at this point, I would like to hand it over to our board chair again, Linda Leitala.
Thank you, Justin. There is no old business to be taken up at this time. The cooperative bylaws require all resolutions to be submitted in writing prior to our annual business meeting. We have received no resolutions this year. Our thanks to members who serve on the Credentials and the Elections Committee. Their job is to oversee the election process and to certify the voting results. According to ECE bylaws, a director can be nominated by petition or by the board-approved nominating committee. This year in District 2, only one candidate was nominated by petition for the available seat on the board of directors. The candidate, Lonnie K. Johnson, was confirmed by the ECE Credentials and Elections Committee and ECE's legal counsel and was acclaimed director. Voting by ballot was not necessary. In voting District 5, only one candidate was nominated by petition for the available seat on the board of directors. That candidate, Jerry T. Tweet, was confirmed by the ECE Credentials and Election Committee and ECE's legal counsel and was acclaimed director. Voting by ballot was not necessary. Claire Schaff of Parker Santrum Law will announce the result of the election in District 4.
Yeah, thank you, Linda. The ECE Credentials and Election Committee met on February 24th and approved Joseph Morin and incumbent Joe Morley as District 4 candidates. We had a total of 1,207 votes. Of those ballots, Joseph Morin received 227 votes. Joe Morley received 980 votes. With the highest number of votes, Joe Morley is elected to the 4-year term in District 4.
Thank you, Claire. Congratulations to our elected directors, Lonnie Johnson, Jerry Tweet, and Joe Morley. Thank you for virtually attending your annual meeting. If you have any questions from today, please contact us at ECE. There is no further business. The 2021 annual business meeting is adjourned. Please stay safe, everyone.